The King of Podcasts Radio Network proudly presents the Broadcasters Podcast, where we dive deep into the media industry headlines and dissect the digital disruption that diverges the masses into the new media counterculture and away from the media establishment. Here is the King of Podcasts.
Welcome to episode 248 of the Broadcasters Podcast. This is King of Podcasts. Welcome you to the program. Website is broadcasterspodcast.com. You can find the audio and video portions of this program every week right here, Thursdays going into Fridays. And you can find all the places where you can go and subscribe to the show, which is Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and all those great places. Plus, you can find out where you can follow yours truly. All the places are at King of Podcasts. So Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok. It's all there. And if you want to, you also want to go and catch my companion program, the Wrestling Is Real Podcast, which I've been doing since 2012. I'll be celebrating my 10th anniversary coming up December 18th, which will be my 10th anniversary of independent podcasting right here, beginning with my original website, kingofpodcasts.com. And then I have a new show that's been recently out. Originally was called When I'm Not Podcasting. It's now Depraved and Debaucherous. We talk about society, relationships, culture, dating, all that good stuff, psychology. Check out those shows. You can find it all right there, broadcasterspodcast.com. We're not going to talk about movies this week. After everything we've talked about for the last few weeks, I know I've been very rampant on it because there was just so much going on with the movies that came out in October, and then just things just like kind of died down. You know? I really did go gung-ho on it. And I'm like, it was a good reason why, because there was so much going on. We're not going back to music now. And what we've talked about for a while now, the fascination of TikTok and what they have done, much like how Napster hurt the music industry back in the 90s, TikTok is doing it again to music and the record labels and the artists now. For a couple of years, the 2020s have been ruled by TikTok. I want to take a story that goes back a few years when this was brought up, and it's from the Next Web. The story was from December of last year, and they flat out put an article, the title saying, "Like it or not, TikTok is changing the music industry. Want a hit song? Get it trending on TikTok." So we knew about that last year. There were so many examples. So let's go ahead and talk about this real quick because they gave a good comprehensive history of where music really took off. Old Town Road, Lil Nas X was really the best example, a song that lasted longer than any other song at number one on the Billboard Hot 100, a worldwide smash hit. And Lil Nas X has been able to continue his career further along since that one song. He's definitely evolved since that song. But anyway, we look at here's what's going on. Now, as we said, when you talk about Lil Nas X, start off the fact that in early 2019, remember, it's only 3 years ago, he was an unknown 19-year-old college dropout from Atlanta, Georgia. Nobody knew who he was. He bought a simple beat for $30 in December 2018, recorded a song half country, half rap, put it on SoundCloud and social media. And then there was a point where Billboard magazine took the song off the country charts. And then they entered both the country and general Hot 100 charts and went to the top. Lil Nas X, first song ever to reach 15 times platinum. And it's all because of a TikTok meme picked up by millions of users. It's the origin story of a remarkable series of viral musical successes on TikTok. Each case, artists have shot the popularity because their songs were used by millions of TikTok users in their videos. So everybody knows the sensation. They're all getting into it. So we can think of some songs that have already done this. Now, let's give another couple of examples. You might have forgotten some of these. How about CK's Love Nwantiti, the Afrobeat song, which was released in 2019, shot to fame in 2021, and was used at this point in more than 7 million TikTok videos. Then you have Masked Wolf with Astronaut in the Ocean, a global hit more than a year into the COVID-19 pandemic. 2 years prior, it was released by a small Austrian label and then used in 18 million TikTok video. And then old songs making comebacks. When you remember that a guy named Nathan Apodaca went viral posting a video of himself gliding down a highway on his longboard, casually drinking cranberry juice from a bottle, lip syncing to Dreams, the 1977 Fleetwood Mac hit. Yeah. Now, the song subsequently was used by millions of TikTok creators. It re-entered the Billboard Hot 100 more than 40 years later after its original release. It actually broke the top 40. TikTok. Only by TikTok. And so you had the challenges, which have not been much anything right now as of late, but we know that with the research that was done, and Olby Oberman, global head of music for TikTok and ByteDance, talked about the impact on artists, the music industry, and music lovers, and that the diversity of music on TikTok and new opportunities for finding music far beyond one's usual taste. Now, he stresses that there's a role for discovering artists from all corners of the globe. He said at the time that I do see a pretty profound impact on the global nature of music as a result of TikTok, but also music streaming overall. It's much more possible for a song that comes out of Australia or India or Korea or Japan or Saudi Arabia to end up becoming a global hit to be listened to by audiences all over the world. And it is. And then there's a point where some songs you just can't get away from. You just can't escape the fact that TikTok has taken over. We talked extensively over the summer about how record labels are basically keeping their artists hostage. If they want to get their albums released, they're telling their artists, you need to get a song viral on TikTok. And there are plenty of artists that are doing that. Young pop stars that have to do this if they want to get their songs out there. And I see a load of them on my feed. As of right now, I can tell you, I see on my feed regularly by FYP, Ava Max, because she has her song $1 Million Baby. She's constantly putting new songs out with the track underneath to try to get it so that the states will pick it up on the charts. Tate McRae, she's been out there for a long time. Sabrina Carpenter's been out there for a long time. And she has a song that's, it was a song that now refers to October 13th in her lyrics. She did a thing about that. Plus, you can see where they're doing their concert stuff, and you see that in their feeds. Madison Beer, it has a song that's supposed to be coming out October 14th on Friday, a new song, and then you hear a tease of it on TikTok. And it goes with everything else. So much more. And this is the thing that you see now where TikTok has just taken over. What is done since December is a whirlwind. I mean, the last 2 years have been crazy. But really, this last year, this program has been constantly talking about TikTok. A lot. Because it's a fascination. It is a great example of the digital disruption where it is what causes some great virality on social media, a simple video platform where there is so much entertainment that it is competing against television and cable and streaming, where this platform is also controlling music. It is taking over when it comes to live streaming, when it comes to, what Periscope used to be, or what Twitch has been, or what YouTube has been. And there are people that are really getting into this and making some headways all over with it. Now, the other thing too is that you'll see certain videos and certain things going on, and then what happens is something goes viral for a while and then it goes away, which is perfect for the Generation Z, millennial, younger, short attention span crowd that do not care about watching long form content. Remember, we talked about last week, the big corporate giants where Jeffrey Katzenberg, and his investors wanted to put in, $2 billion into Quibi, which is kind of the idea of creating short form content, all new content, but creating short form, thinking they could put it out in the premium in a price point. But it doesn't matter. And then a lot of these creators that are out there, we're seeing new people that are they're instant small time celebrities overnight, micro celebrities overnight, influencers becoming stars. And you see this and all of a sudden things just change. Ad revenue coming in, all these creators are making some money. And what I think is going to happen, and I know people have been talking about this, that we have some generations of TikTok stars that are going to be replaced by somebody else. Because what's going to happen is we're going to get a second generation, a third generation. We're going to get a rollover. We're going to get a switching of the guard. There will be some stars that will transition out of TikTok and new ones will come in to replace. Because there's just plenty of people out there that are going to be able to go up on that site, use their phone, and create whatever they want. And something will take off. Music is the best one. Because there are musicians now on a regular basis. I remember I had the interview a few months ago with Serge Tarkanian, the drummer with System of a Down. And remember I brought up the fact that, about TikTok and the musicians that are on there, and how Serge was actually talking about the fact that these artists should be creating new music. Like, they should be working with writers and creating new songs, not just doing karaoke or just performing songs that are of somebody else, which I very much agree with. I mean, you can do things where you can take, there's one artist in the UK, Cat Burns, that was doing covers pretty consistent. And then all of a sudden she comes in and has her song go, and it goes top 5 in the UK and worldwide, except for the US. But that's something. I mean, it's like the people that can become stars overnight without the need of all these shows like Masked Singer or American Idol or The Voice, like all that's done. No X Factor, not even any of that. America's Got Talent, none of it. Because now those shows look passé. They're faded. They're antiquated. They're not where the hot music is. And even if it's not pop music, it is. There's rap music there. There's various music on there. And various music we're discovering. Because there's so many times I look at songs that are from the 60s, 70s, 80s. Some songs that come up in my feed that somebody will have just dropped in. Because they're going to get some clicks off of that. And I'll look at some songs that I've added to my Spotify playlist of like timeless hits or songs from the 90s or songs from the 2000s or current songs. And I'm like, man, some people just remember certain things and I hear it. I'm like, I got to pick this back up. I can't tell you how many times I've added songs to one of my playlists because I heard it on TikTok. And I was like, you know what? I got to go back and look for it. And I have. Now, with that said, we know that with TikTok comes this. It's different than what it was when SoundCloud had a generation of all these rappers that were becoming hot all overnight, right? The thing is with TikTok is that we might be running into a lot of one-hit wonders. We don't know how far some of these stars are going to go and if they're going to be doing anything else after the fact. So there's a story from Billboard. They write that too many songs, not enough hits. And that pop music is struggling to create new stars. Now remember, the machine of pop music has to be relied upon radio. But of course, radio is not there. And that the things have been changing when it comes to the TikTok algorithm and the influencing of it, where it's much more search friendly than it was anything else. Plus, you have the changes that Spotify and other platforms, streaming platforms, that are changing the way that things happen when it comes to what songs can make it into today's top songs playlist. Because there was a big change in Spotify's today's top songs playlist. It is much more the radio. Much more what radio is playing now is what's being listened in that playlist. It changed overnight. Something changed over there, and I don't know what happened. But they decided to make it a little more current, a little more to where radio can catch up. And then basically what you see on the Spotify list is what you're going to see on the radio list. So it wasn't radio catching up. Those people were playing the radio, an older, antiquated, traditional format. Why? Did the record labels get involved and say, hey, we want these artists to go and play, like we want our Harry Styles songs to play and this and that? If Ariana Grande has a new song or Taylor Swift or whatever it is, they want to be able to have the room to have certain artists not have their songs all played out in one shot and not get a chance to be put out as traditional singles to be pushed out and promoted. That's what they're talking. So there are executives that are saying that there's a deluge of new music, and the difficulty of influencing TikTok's algorithm makes building an audience harder than ever for acts. But remember, is that people want to continue the traditional front of putting artists out and putting music out, and trying to put out hopefully traditional albums. But that is becoming something that doesn't happen much. There are not many artists that want to put out albums. And I know, and Beyonce and all these others can say all they want about it, but they're not. So in the story, Elias Light writes about this. And they say this. There's a sense around the music industry right now, from managers to marketers to A&R executives, that there are songs that are coming out and becoming viral that are few and far between in 2022. They talked about Muni Long, who had a song, Hers and Hers, a contemporary R&B single built on the framework of classic soul ballads. The song was released last year on her own label and then climbed to number 16 at the end of January on the Billboard Hot 100. And it was her first hit, and she got, after that, opportunity to partner with Def Jam. Now, one of her co-managers, Chris Anokut, he says that it's a bigger and more level playing field and everything is getting lost. Everyone's an artist, but almost nobody's breaking. So they're trying to say what artists are breaking, making their way up. And then what they're saying is this. There's not that many artists that are coming up and becoming new sensations or, overnight. Really what it is. Label executives use the trend streaming numbers as a barometer, while most managers look at ticket sales. But the number of new acts getting into the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100 has declined precipitously. From 2001 to 2004, there were 30 first-timers that cracked the top 10 annually. 2019, 15 hit the top 10. 2021, just 13. So we're not getting a lot of new stars making it in. There's a lot of songs that break the charts, but don't make it all the way to the top. And now, they don't want to say this, but I know the algorithm of Billboard was changed to allow radio airplay to be much more significant. And it's just true. There's not so many people that are doing Billboard predictions out there, but I want to say that there are people that are putting that out. And there's plenty of people out there online that are doing this. They're actually doing some part where they are trying to get what they think are what the charts are going to look like. And there's been a little bit of a kibosh on that, because when you look at what songs are out there and what people are trying to project will be number one or will be whatever. Let me put it like this. Now, there are charts that are coming out. This is one that's come out most recently. So there's one group I'm looking at Gourmet Charts. Recently just put up what was this week's Billboard Hot 100 predictions. Now, I'm using this because I'm able to look at the stats as to what constitutes the amount of points needed for a song to score on the Hot 100. So, for instance, right now, Bad Habit by Steve Lacy is currently the number one song in the country. Well, how's it the number one song? It's not the song that's not being streamed the most right now. No, that distinction goes to Unholy by Sam Smith and Kim Petras. Now, if you look in the UK official chart, Unholy is number one for the second week in a row. So they care about streaming more over there, because that's the real pulse of the audience in the UK. For America, they're not using it so much. Now, let's look at this. Now, for Unholy, it did become the number 2 song in the country because it finally got into this chart. In terms of units sold, 176,000 units sold. Airplay has not picked up yet because radio always is late to the game. It might take a couple weeks for them to catch up. As we've talked about before, sometimes it takes 6 to 12 weeks for radio to pick up on a song that's already been viral and streaming for a month. So what did they do? Now, Bad Habit, Steve Lacy. Those are units, by the way. That's the singles, I guess. But they're also not talking about digital sales. Now, digital sales, Unholy got the most out of everybody, almost 12,000 units sold. Bad Habit, 2,000. But why they did well is because they had a little bit enough on streaming, but then they also got the most on airplay. And even they didn't get the most on airplay, but if you look at who got the most airplay on radio, they're all in the top 10. All right? Let me just tell you this. So Sunroof, Nicky Yor, and Daisy, that's number 5 right now. 65 million plays on airplay and radio. Then in the 60s, you got I Like Your Happier song and As It Was, which has been number one for a number of weeks and it's still in the top 10. And after that, if I look at the next, it would be About Damn Time, Lizzo, which is number 10, because streaming is down, sales are down, everything else is down. It's just radio. Just by the radio airplay, radio has enough pull to give that song the points it needs to stay at number 10. And you think about how many other songs are out there that could be also pushed up that high. And we look at artists that might come up all of a sudden and go viral because of TikTok. Well, right now on the current list, you got Glorilla and Cardi B with a song Tomorrow 2, which that got helped with 15 million streams and a little bit of airplay because Cardi B was on the track. And that's it. That song got the number 21. But it's not in that top 10 benchmark like this story is talking about. Now back to the story from Billboard. The drought has some managers and label executives worried. So some people are saying the market is abysmal right now. The market's dry as fuck. One major label A&R representative or executive who requested anonymity to speak candidly. Quote, there's less and less shit working. The frontline label business signing the artists is in trouble. I can honestly say right now that nobody knows what's going on. These are A&R representatives from major labels. They're not able to do the normal business of emerging artists, bringing them up to the forefront and promoting their singles and then promoting an album and then becoming a star overnight. We're not getting Olivia Rodrigo's anymore. We don't get those kind of stories because she's the great example. Olivia Rodrigo, all of a sudden, she puts out her album. 4 months after Driver's License goes wild. And then her accompanying songs after that, Good For You and A Deja Vu, all over the place. Remember, I talked about that when she came out all of a sudden, like 2 weeks after the Driver's License became just a smash and just blew up. Well, we're not getting artists like that now. Like, we don't get artists who just go all the way to that full circle. It doesn't happen. We'll get some stars that will have a song from an EP, something like that. And all of a sudden they'll make their way up. And there are so many songs being added to streaming services and nothing is taking off. So insiders have theories, plenty of them, why the market for new artists is difficult. There's a lot of new music. It's so easy now for aspiring artists to release tracks that songs are hitting streaming services by the hard drive full. It makes it harder for any single tune to stand out amid the glut. Now, who could be helping with this? Radio. But radio doesn't want to be a part of this market of being the arbiters of selecting, letting their DJs, letting their on-air announcers, their hosts that are music minded, allowing them to play songs out there to the audience and getting a gauge from that audience as to what songs are doing good. Real audience metric research. Audience metric testing with your radio station, not to a crowd and some select few putting some sample songs out there. No. You put the songs on the radio. You don't always have to play the same song over and over. Listen, you could take a little bit of time to stop playing Harry Styles 120 times a week. You could take about 5 or 10 spins during the day and give that to a new artist. And see if somebody's going to go off on that. As I've said before as well. I'm a broken record. But I remember back in the day where every nighttime radio show, whether it was on rock or pop or whatever, they all had their wars, their battle of the songs, where a song that is very viral in that sense back in the 80s or 90s would go up against a contender, the challenger. You have a champion and have a challenger, and then a challenger could come in and trump that song to become the new champion. And that was a very popular thing. You get a lot of feedback, a lot of call outs, and you would actually know if a song was doing good. And you know what? The song did so well, you put it on the rotation. But nobody wants to do that. So they're saying now that the biggest record companies are taking notice. If there are 80,000 tracks a day being uploaded on major digital service providers, then market share is going to be diluted by default. And then they used to have and Billboard says it here, they take a little time to get over here, but they did. The reach and influence of once powerful mediums like radio and late night TV have also declined. Yeah, there's something to be said about, okay, Seth Meyers and Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. You guys have any artists on there, any musicians that play? Like Jimmy Fallon still does, right? I don't know. James Corden doesn't have anybody, does he? I don't think he has musical artists. Saturday Night Live, yeah, they still play artists, right? They still got musicians. And then radio used to actually mean something. And let me tell you like this. Radio, I want you to listen to this. I love you, okay? I really do. I've been a radiophile all my life. I grew up on radio. I live for the history of radio. I wish for radio to succeed and continue to thrive because it's the one medium I believe more than anything else that could continue to thrive in the age of the digital disruption. It can. There's a purpose for it. But the corporate giants that own all these companies with major debt, they don't want to give up. They don't want to give it up. They'd rather continue to let these vulturous equity partners, these equity hedge fund groups, they'd rather have them continue to go ahead and pick away and lay people off and continue to downsize and dwindle the resources and really just deteriorate what you have are once powerful radio stations. For instance, 2 radio stations that were legendary just switched. Remember the station that Howard Stern took off on in New York? WXRK New York, 92.3? So a couple of years ago, it switched from pop music to alternative, Alt 92.3. You know what they did? They just switched it this week. So that 1010 Wins, the major power player of New York news talk radio for decades, now has an FM signal. So 1010 Wins is now simulcast on 92.3 in New York City. Goodbye K-Rock. Goodbye any rock in New York City. You can listen to it on Spotify or whatever, but no, you got that. And then was it a 18 KGO, a talk radio station? That got switched to sports betting syndicated. A talk radio station in San Francisco that's been around for a long time. KGO. Switch. People don't care. These companies don't care. Not at all. And you want to know why? Radio can say, oh, we penetrate 97% of the market. 97% of people listen to radio. And what do the music executives say? The same music labels that I told you last year decided to remove their radio promotions teams. Many of them. Because they're going after social media. They're going after TikTok. They're going after YouTube. They're going after Instagram. Quote, a number one radio song doesn't mean fuck anymore. One more time. A number one radio song doesn't mean fuck anymore. Managers say even marquee streaming playlists don't have the commercial oomph they had just a few years ago. Not just because you're in a top 10 slot on a big Spotify playlist doesn't mean your audience is growing. It's true. The rise of TikTok has complicated matters. Is what I've been talking about here. 2 songs that have climbed up the charts and have been significant, and Beholds Dumb Little Bug, which did get into radio and airplayed a lot, but never broke top 20. Nick, Your Sunroof has broken top 10. It's climbed up the charts, and then it climbed number 1 in radio airplay. But it's still an unpredictable marketing tool, less susceptible to manipulation and less responsive to star power than other platforms. Which is nice. That's the part I actually like. That all these established artists, the Harry Styles, the Ed Sheerans, the Justin Biebers, the Taylor Swifts, the Beyoncés, I actually like the fact they have to compete with all these other stars. Got to work that much harder. Yeah. Can't just be a given. Just because their name recognition says it all. Now, taken together, these factors mean that seizing or holding the attention of music-loving masses is much more challenging. It used to be that you released an album, got Rolling Stone to review it, got on tour, got on late-night TV, that's how you broke. One senior executive of a major label used to do that. Even if luck was a factor, the path was clear. 4 or 5 things. Now you need 4 or 5 things a week, or at least a month, or else your streams don't go up. True. One longtime manager says the recipe now is like 45 ingredients long. It's harder than ever to be a new artist. Now we have Steve Lacy now with Bad Habit. It's evidence that the music industry can still create big moments for new artists. Now his career started 7 years ago, Steve Lacy. His first solo album was 2019. He already earned a Grammy Award. There are other artists that have come up all of a sudden. Zach Bryan. His streaming numbers helped drive his triple album major label debut to number 1 on the Billboard's Top Country Albums chart. Another executive, founder of Crush Management, Jonathan Daniel, who represents Sia, Lord, Panic at the Disco, he believes that the characterizing of current music is abysmal. For new artists, is a little crazy. He acknowledges it feels more difficult to break without a true mainstream. Everyone's feed is siloed, and in a way that's awesome. You have a limited choice, but it makes it harder for something to be mainstream. This is what I tell you, folks. Radio. Listen to me. Listen to me right here, King of Podcast. Listen to my microphone. You need to alter the way you categorize your genres. Okay? When it comes to pop music, you need to go back to where it was before, when the Billboard Hot 100 mattered. So you know what? If you had a station that's playing the top 40 hits, a top 40 format. If a country song's up there, you're playing it. If it's a rap song, you're playing it. If it's a soul song, if it's an alternative song, if it's a novelty song, you're playing it. It's time to go ahead and get up this homogenization of pop music and keeping it like that. Because pop music is being redefined. Let's be honest here. There's traditional pop music, but there's also this music that crosses over. Therefore, if you don't want to be a station that's a pop station, then what you do, mind you, is you create a crossover station. Rhythmic crossover. That's how it works. Or a rock-based crossover. That's what you do. And if you don't do that, I don't know what to tell you. But it is where you have to go next. And then we go along on the story, and they say that major labels are not the only ones that need to adapt. And they're talking about how there's one artist that's putting out pop songs, earning around 140,000 streams a day, was able to recently sell 500 capacity rooms around the country on tour, but nobody knows who he is. But if this artist becomes a household name, he might be able to enjoy a sturdy, solid career through his recording. But the level of getting that super successful thing, that's not happening now. So something's got to change. I think it's a good story to bring up here and to make note of. I do. Now, another story actually talked about this kind of level of the music, this new music that's coming out, and how it's just changing the whole feel of like where there's a new different style of mainstream, or what songs are crossing over to the main. Carrie Batan, about a week ago in the New Yorker, wrote about Gail and the rise of Metapop. I don't know why they brought her up. I've always heard she's an industry plant. And she had ABCFU, and none of her other songs ever broke. They have not even broken. Like, they haven't even broken the Hot 100. Nothing's come out yet. But we know that there are a number of artists that have been talking about how they've been dealing with the fact that record labels ask for TikToks and they're getting told off for not making enough effort. One artist is an experimental pop and R&B artist, FKA Twigs. In May, she makes a point that was an issue for her. Halsey making a similar complaint about the pervasive pressure to use the platform. She already had an unreleased song ready to drop and wrote, quote, "My record company is saying that I can't release it unless they make a fake a viral moment on TikTok." Now, by the way, and then it was also Florence Welch of Florence and the Machine doing a similar act of meta resistance, using her TikTok to protest her label's fixation with the platform. The label's, quote, "begging for me for lo-fi TikTok, so here you go," end quote. Then she wrote underneath a demo-esque video of herself singing a cappella in March. And then she ended the video with a smirk, apparently indicating the performance had an aspect of self-parody. Her intention didn't seem to matter to her fans, who loved it and gave her a minor viral moment. So this backfired, she said. About the promotional demands of TikTok becoming, for a brief time, an incredibly effective tool of self-promotion. The labels themselves couldn't have engineered a better mechanism for drawing artists to the artist pages, or listeners to the artist pages. We talked all about this extensively on the program. You can go back and plenty of episodes I'll talk about this back to back. So Gail is somebody they're bringing up here, which I'm sorry, they're about, 7 months late to the game on this, but they're talking about her. I think people have forgotten about Gail. Does anybody remember? We talked about Olivia Rodrigo already, but they bring her up here. Now, what we do know is that Gail is actually coming out with a new single. She came with a new single in August. It'll be on her upcoming EP, and it's supposed to be due out this month. An exaggerated take on 90s grunge. Now, they go on to say in this article that many commentators have been quick to point out that in the early days of MTV, musicians dismissed the music video format as a cheap marketing tactic, and early criticisms eventually fell away as the music matured into an art form of its own. If the TikTok stakeholders have any luck, the same thing will happen with the viral online clips, and the generational differences won't seem to matter much, and complaining about TikTok and eagerly using TikTok both seem to benefit, well, TikTok. They make a good point here, because TikTok is what MTV was in the 80s. They took it then on the traditional radio, and they forced radio to change. Like, radio's always been able to go ahead and eventually they have to go ahead and cower, and they have to change to what evolves in music. So thinking of the early 80s, it could continue to go and play yacht rock, which is now getting a nice little viral, renaissance right now for people out there wanting to enjoy listening to, Ambrosia and Christopher Cross and Ronnie Dupree and, Player and all this stuff, right? Which is great songs. Don't get me wrong. I love all those songs. But what they're doing is, that was the kind of music that we're playing out there early 80s. And Billboard had on the charts. And radio was pushing. The folks of Lee Abrams that are out there consulting stations to play much more of an adult style, older pop format. So you have artists like, Elton John or Captain Tennille or, Air Supply, maybe as new artists coming out in the front. Playing songs from Eddie Rabbitt or, I don't know, right? And then you would have the, other artists that were coming in still that would come into the mix all of a sudden. But MTV changed the game. And then the British invasion came in again. And all these artists from the UK all of a sudden came back over here and then overnight sensations in America. And if people in the UK knew if they can get the songs pushed out over in America on MTV and then it comes back overseas, the songs become popular in the UK after the fact. It was actually a thing. So another article here about TikTok, they talk about how if it's good for musicians or hurting the music industry. Well, we already been talking about it is. The A&R representatives are already talking about it. That's what Billboard specifically talked about. Excuse me. So Jumpstart Magazine asks the question. Another song that they put out here that has been one of the longest running songs of the Billboard Hot 100, Heat Waves. The song picked up on Steam on TikTok last year. The song was released in 2019. And then there was something about the exact line about videos about unrequited love with it as background music. The song became mainstream popular again, and Heat Waves, 3 years later, tops the Billboard Hot 100 for 4 weeks in a row in March of this year. And when you look at even also other artists, Ty Verdes, Olivia Rodrigo, Doja Cat have all had songs blow up on the platform. There's such a massive influence on the music that artists are going the extra mile to make their songs viral. So there are artists that are not resistant, that are trying to go out there. K-pop artists now start TikTok dance challenges for their songs to reach more listeners. And despite TikTok's power, not every song posted on the platform will blow up. But if you look at songs that caught fire, there's a formula, memorable, punchy lyrics that people can quote in multiple situations and danceable choruses. Now, Heat Waves is a good example of this. The first half of the equation is down, which in case was good enough to make the song viral. With Doja Cat, they often capture parts of the formula pretty well. If her song Woman has a popular dance challenge on TikTok, also has relatable lyrics like, they want to pit us against each other when we succeeded for no reasons. They want to see us end up like we were Regina on Mean Girls. TikTok's giving a chance for artists to be popular with a clear-cut formula that they can follow. Everything sounds positive, right? And the easy ticket to popularity, many record labels are adding to their artists' workloads, forcing them to create content on TikTok for their music. So for the established artists, they're upset because the game changed for them. And now TikTok all of a sudden is this new thing they don't want to have. We talked about Halsey. Her song So Good wouldn't be released by Capitol Music until there was a viral moment on TikTok. And then when she discussed the issues about her song getting pushed out, that got viral and got the song to be released on June 9th, 2022. To which it didn't do that well. Like, it hit the Hot 100, but it didn't really make much of a dent. Now, record companies know there's a formula to making TikTok famous and invariably forcing artists to create songs either fitting the niche or marketing their music in a way that makes them TikTok famous. Well, that's the other part. I mean, you can talk about how certain songs might go by a formula. It's like how the formula for Eurovision is done. You know, Eurovision, that's like 30 different European countries that have different artists that have put out a song that could be the song of the year, the song that's awarded for Eurovision for that year or that artist. And then what they'll do is there's a particular formula that makes for a Eurovision friendly song. And that's why they go up and they get played and they get out there and somebody will take them and they'll enjoy it. Music marketers today are paying TikTok creators to make videos with an artist's song to fake their way into virality. That's also a new thing now. It not only includes TikTok celebrities, but also non-influencers. And now the average TikTok user is becoming aware of how music is being marketed and then quick call out industry plants. We know that Gail was called out for being an industry plant, and it stemmed from her creating the song as a response to a comment asking her to write a breakup song using the alphabet. And what made people so suspicious of Gail was how ABCDEFU was released by Atlantic Records only a week after the TikTok video gained traction. So is it bad? They say no, because it enables artists to be discovered by more people. And the introduction of their sound on in March of this year, they're opening doors for more independent artists to have complete control of the music. And these artists will now be able to upload their music easily to TikTok and other streaming platforms like Apple Music and Spotify. And the artists will not only retain complete rights to their music, but will get 100% royalties for their songs the first year, 90% thereafter, from using their distribution service. So it makes sense to be TikTok famous as a result. So given the response to the trend of calling out industry plants, it's fair to say forcing artists to adhere to this cookie-cutter pop formula won't work. Artists need creative freedom, and the industry will consider this going forward so that both record labels and artists can make the most of what TikTok has to offer. But what we're getting out of all this is that TikTok and their ability to get artists out there, see, this is between what crosses over and what a mainstream artist is trying to do to use TikTok to leverage, right? What we're realizing is that TikTok benefits the artists that cross over and become mainstream, not those that are established, right? Now we can look and see what artists are out there that have the biggest footprint on TikTok and which of their videos take off. Not many. Because I noticed my FYP page, it's not so much these established artists that are doing anything to really push out there. And the truth is because some of them realize, you know what, I can't just be doing music related stuff. Let me tell you, Selena Gomez is a good example. She's a good example of getting the platform. She understands it. She's not just doing music. She's doing comedy. She's doing other stuff. But that's because she's multi-versatile. She was an actress before she became a musician. So there's a whole lot to her that where she can go in and continue to entertain. But then you see other stars that are out there that, you know, that if you're trying to go be so serious because your record label still need to push it as your career thing, yeah, it's not going to work. And so, like, there's certain artists that come out, and you can just tell certain musicians don't know what they're doing. And it's really sad, especially the older artists. Oh my, Madonna, Steve Perry, Susanna Hoffs. Oh my God, poor girl. She's just cringe. I mean, it's like, for some people, it's just funny. You know, one of the people I was watching on TikTok was kind of interesting. Engelbert Humperdinck, great singer. Don't sleep on him. He's got great music. By the way, so you have that going on, and I like it. I like the fact that we get all this new music from new artists, and we're getting new voices we've never heard of before. Plus, I actually kind of like the fact that certain songs that we all missed the first time around, they come up and become viral, and they become popular. So if we're seeing some songs that might have all of a sudden, they missed their first chance, that they get a second chance on success, that's pretty good. Like one of the best stories of the year. It was not so much, well, partly it was because of TikTok, but originally it was because of Stranger Things. And remember for a couple of weeks I talked about Kate Bush running up that hill. And to see that Kate Bush, with the legacy of her career, you know, in the UK, have her debut single go number one. And at this age, 40 some odd, 44 years later, she gets another song from 1984 that goes back to number one again. Amazing. Like, I love that. Now, it did not hit number one here. Got close. I don't think Kate Bush got number one here. She got, like, close. I think she was competing against Harry Styles. That's why. But at the end of the year, Kate Bush is going to be on that chart of, like, most popular songs of 2022. It's going to be that year-end chart. I'm like, wow. Those kind of things really are wonderful. And also, in a way, also getting songs validated. Like, you know, for the fact that we have certain artists and music that we know was so legendary and iconic. For the fact that the song from Fleetwood Mac, Dreams, all of a sudden jumped right back up the charts. From 1977 to now. And saying, you know, and then hearing it, I remember in the UK on the official chart, and Scott Mills saying, yes, we're going to play this song for 1977, Dreams. And he played the song. I was like, wow, what's going on here? We got all this new music. We're playing Fleetwood Mac, but the song's so damn good. It's timeless. And honestly, there's a lot of songs that are timeless. And so, if you want to know, on my Spotify, if you look for King of Podcasts, I actually have 3 music playlists up there, and one of them is Timeless Hits. And there are so many songs I call them timeless because sometimes I hear a song and I'm just like, just catches me again, and I love it. Just makes me happy. There's a lot of times I get those kind of songs that all of a sudden just come right back up, and I'll just be giddy, and I'll be like, wow. You know, you get those songs, and you know what? For some reason, to listen to it on streaming, and it sounds so good when I listen through headphones or through the car stereo. Like just today, I'm listening to my Timeless Hits playlist, which is spanning from the early days of rock and roll all the way to the early 90s. And there were a couple of songs that came up. Twisted Sisters, We're Not Gonna Take It. And hearing that again with the drums and the whole feel to it and the excitement and the whole, you know, parody of the whole thing and Douglas Niedermeyer in the videos, like I just think about that, just think of good times. Made me smile. Just into it. And then I'm listening to a song like what did I have? Oh my God, Sweet Thing, Rufus and Shaka Khan. What an incredible song! And Shaka Khan just tearing it up with the music. And those kind of things can just come up and like, what if somebody comes up and decides to use that song and all of a sudden goes up? You know what's happening now? I don't know if it's actually viral or not, but a couple of times on my FYP, somebody put up the fact that, what was it, 28 years ago, I think it was, Mariah Carey's song My All. It's one of my all-time favorites of hers. Like, it's so soothing, it's so relaxing, it's so awesome. And that song, you know, remember, that song could be on a pop station, on an adult contemporary station, on a soul station, you know, like an R&B station. I heard it on smooth jazz station because the song would fit. It was like kind of like a Sade kind of feel to it. And now I'm hearing girls that are now trying to perform the song and trying to hit the notes, which every girl's struggling with. Poor girls, these beautiful girls that are really good voices, but they can't hit the notes. Like one girl was trying to do the whistle challenge some day. She's in a parking garage. She tries to hit the notes, and everybody's saying she's one note behind. She's one note down. It's just impossible to do. That woman is just talented. Like her, I mean, let me tell you, all of Mariah Carey stuff in the first 3 albums or so. I mean, what is it, like 90 to 96? She just dominated. And I remember, it's like when somebody comes back and then her career is just amazing. It fascinates me anyway. And she comes back 2005 when We Belong Together, and then just like the comeback. And like, what a damn comeback. I'm like, that song still is so damn good to me. Love it. I can hear it over and over. But My All Now, that could be a song. Just keep an eye on it. It could be a song that might kind of jump up. And don't be surprised if it does. So now TikTok is in the news because there's more that's going on. They're in the talk about more things here. Now, they're not just going to be the influence for the music now. No. Watch out. The Wall Street Journal reported. Oh boy. That citing people familiar with the discussions that TikTok parent ByteDance is in negotiations with record companies about expanding its dedicated music streaming platform to multiple new markets. I talked about Resso, which is available in Brazil, India, and Indonesia. The sister app of TikTok, it would expand into more than a dozen new territories. Now, the United States would not be considered yet. But according to musicbusinessworldwide.com sources, ByteDance's plan is meeting some resistance from certain music rights holders who question the current monetary reward that the music is received from TikTok itself. As we said before, that some of these music labels and some of these royalties companies, the music rights holders, they are expecting and they are asking for TikTok to commit to a revenue share model. Remember, we talked about that on the show as well, where music rights holders will be rewarded with a fixed percentage of revenue generated by the videos that contain music. Yeah, they want to make sure there's a fixed rate. They don't want to get the organic, like based on the actual response. They want to make sure there's a guaranteed cut. Instead, TikTok's licensing agreements with music rights holders are based on so-called buyout deals. They often last for 2 years. ByteDance pays rights holders an upfront check for a blanket license of the use of music in short-form video clips. Keep an eye on that. Now, they didn't say which other markets there might be said, but Music Business Worldwide tracked verified TikTok music accounts for Malaysia, Australia, New Zealand, Latin America, Singapore, and Asia. So we might see something here. So there's something there that could come up, and maybe TikTok will have their own streaming service expanded worldwide as direct competition to Apple, Pandora, Spotify, and the rest. So keep an eye on that. The other thing that's coming up here, another story that is getting people all worked up, is TikTok. Could they be turning into a record company? Music Business Worldwide talked about that. This is from last week, but either which way. The SoundOn marketing distribution service, which we already talked about, they're now hiring in Jakarta, Indonesia. The idea is that TikTok's parent company is looking to hire for new A&R managers for their four North American cities, 4 major American cities. New A&R manager positions. LA, New York, Miami, and Toronto. They're all business music hubs. These executives will need to ensure that artists see ByteDance as the number one partner for artist development, promotion, and monetization. A&Rs, artist and repertoire, for TikTok. That's what a record label does. They have A&R representatives. And the job ad continues to say that, quote, focusing on the U.S. music landscape, you will sign and develop artists within the independent music community. Our ideal candidate is passionate about music and has a strong desire to make a positive impact on the music community as music industry as a whole. And so they're now looking for A&R executives. 4 key North American cities, 3 of which are in the world's largest recorded music market. A significant development in the evolution of the music industry, and one of the majors will likely be keeping a close eye on it. And then ByteDance might need to go into the major labels to get the A&R talent pool filled. They also might end up competing for artists to sign with major label employed artists and repertoires. What if certain A&R representatives are able to get their artists to flip? That's another thing that comes up. So this is all happening. TikTok is overpowering. It's all encompassing. It's taking over, pretty much. Why I said that. Tracking the TikTok music takeover. My argument is complete. But keep an eye on all this. What's going to happen next? I'm fascinated by this story. A couple more stories I'm going to bring up here because there's a few more I want to bring up, but I'm going to hold off on all these to next week. I'm going to just table them over because I took so much time on TikTok. So a couple stories I want to just run into because I'm coming up to the hour and I want to finish up now. New York Times talking about how for Gen Z, TikTok is a new search engine because now for searching for things, it's not so much Google, it's not so much anywhere else, but TikTok's trying to become a search engine. They're trying to get their algorithm so you can search for anything through video and find information. It's a smart thing to do. For them to do that and be able to do that, it's smart. Now, I also know that not too long ago, TechCrunch reported how YouTube Shorts is trying to integrate more closely with YouTube Music because YouTube Shorts now also trying to incentivize creators. They're also trying to get YouTube Music integrated with YouTube Shorts so that you can start consolidating the musicians to promote their music on YouTube Shorts, and their music is pushed out on YouTube Music. And that's what they're trying to do now. In this TechCrunch story, they talk about that ByteDance filed a trademark application with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office in May for a service called TikTok Music. That it could be applied to a mobile app that will allow users to purchase, play, and share and download music. And why can they do that? There was a report from TikTok that said that 175 songs trended on the short video platform that ended up in the Billboard Hot 100. So YouTube sees them as a threat. The record labels see TikTok as a threat. The artists that are established see TikTok as a threat. For anybody else that's new, upcoming, or they're independent, or they are able to be versatile and adapt and evolve with a new platform, that are able to go ahead and follow along with the digital disruption and play along. If they're able to do that, they're going to succeed. That's what you have to keep an eye out on, if they can do it. Now, there's one story outside of TikTok I want to make sure I cover tonight because it's very important, and I just think it's sad. Because what if this is something that happens in any other country? Censorship of music. This is surprising. In Jamaica, the broadcasting regulators there, they're banning music and TV deemed to glorify crime. Musicians are criticizing that the ban would include urban slang making to do with money or acquiring wealth. So they're banning music and TV broadcasts deemed to glorify or promote criminal activity. The ban comes from after efforts from the authorities in the Caribbean nation to halt high levels of gun violence. Jamaica had the highest murder rate in Latin America and the Caribbean in 2021. The Broadcasting Commission said that such music on video or public broadcast normalized criminality among vulnerable and impressionable youth. So some of the words that might be censored would be Jungle Justice, bank or foreign account, food, wallet, purse, burner phone, and client. What if they put this on radio? And one of the infamous radio stations in the world, Irie FM, if they're told they can't play certain songs, and they do this. There's one artist, McGregor. He's known as The Genius. He viewed the ban as a free speech issue, and the Jamaican government would be better served addressing root causes of violence, like a pandemic-fueled economic crisis that has hit the country. He says that, well, people are not going to be creating happy, feel-good, one love, one heart music in those circumstances. You can't force the creators to paint a picture that's really not in front of it. Censorship of music. Now, that's on... They said it was TV. Music and TV. I don't know if that means radio, but I hope it doesn't. But it probably will. Imagine if other state or other countries did the same thing. That music could be held up like that. That'd be a shame. That's the show for tonight. I hope you appreciate me talking about this whole argument about TikTok, but I laid out a whole argument for you. I'd love to hear what you think about it. So feel free to go ahead and hit me on the contact form at broadcasterspodcast.com. I have a place for there. I'd love to go and take your comments, or you can go ahead and leave a comment in the video portion. And from there, leave a comment in the YouTube channel. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the feed and that playlist so you can go ahead and never miss an episode. That'd be nice to do too. In the meantime, we'll leave it there. Thanks for listening in to the program. And remember, until next week, that content is king, and the control of your content is in your hand.
Thank you for listening to the Broadcasters Podcast. Find all the links to subscribe to the show by going to broadcasterspodcast.com. And don't forget to check out the King of Podcasts wrestling program, the Wrestling is Real podcast, exclusively at wrestlingisreal.com.